Thank you very much for your time. Really do appreciate it. I'm sure you've read Wendy Nola's article. She found, or the independent lab found, that at least 2 sanitizers were making false claims of 70% alcohol in their sanitizers, and at least half of the 11 that they tested had less than the 70%, which is regulated and what we should expect as consumers. So where does the South African Bureau of Standards come in on this? What is the role that you must now play here?
So thanks for having me, Sally. Just to indicate that the SABS tests products, so we test them according to 2 standards, especially for hand sanitizers. That's the South African National Standards 490 and the South African National Standard 1853. These 2 standards, when manufacturers are tested according to these standards, it gives us as consumers the assurance that those products and the production processes have met very stringent quality requirements. So the SABS, when you see the SABS logo and the SABS mark on hand sanitizers, it gives you that assurance that these have been properly tested.
Unless, of course, that mark is false. And I know that you've had a problem with people putting that label up false when they don't actually have the certification. So what action have you taken?
So what we do is we issue cease-and-desist letters. We then follow up with lodge criminal cases with the South African Police Services, and we then lodge damages in that legal process. So we do follow up. As soon as we are aware of any mark infringements, we contact the companies immediately. I think we've received about 550 queries since March 2020 relating to hand sanitizers and masks by the public and by manufacturers. And we then follow up and contact those companies and issue cease and desist. Failing that, we then involve the police.
One of the concerns raised by Wendy Nola, the consumer journalist who broke the story about the hand sanitizers, is that the South African Bureau of Standards is taking a very long time to issue correct certification, sometimes up to 18 months, which suggests that any new sanitizers on the market at the moment could not in any way correctly have your stamp of approval. Am I right?
So the test time is 21 days, and then we also do a stability test after 6 months to make sure that the alcohol doesn't have a negative impact with the other ingredients in the sanitizer. So first 21 days, and thereafter 6 months. So that's the average duration to check the hand sanitizers and particularly the alcohol content.
All right. So is the South African Bureau of Standards reactive or proactive? Do you go out and do spot tests on things like hand sanitizers, or do you simply wait for the manufacturer to come and ask to be certified, or even wait for a consumer journalist to expose that in fact some of the sanitizers don't have the right levels of alcohol?
So the standards applicable to hand sanitizers are voluntary standards at the moment. They are not a compulsory specification. And so any manufacturer that would approach us on a voluntary basis. We also do not have enforcement capability. And when we do go out to companies, it would be around the infringement relating to the mark and not necessarily to the product itself. Those competencies lie with the National Regulator for Compulsory Specifications. They would actually be able to go out and look at products, seize those products, and follow their protocols. So
Jody Scholtz, what advice, comfort, suggestions do you have for consumers faced with the knowledge that of the tests done in this investigative report, half of them nearly did not have the right amount of alcohol, 3 of them were making false claims of 70% alcohol. We know some action has been taken, but what is your advice for consumers to make sure, because this is not just, oh well, it's about it is actually it's a safety issue. We don't want to feel safe if our hand sanitizers, in fact, are not protecting us.
Absolutely. And so as a consumer and a mom, I would advise all of our consumers to look out for those 2 standards. It would say SANS, so it's SANS 490 and SANS 1853. The product should have those 2 standards, in addition to specifying what kind of what kind of hand sanitizer is. Is it a gel or liquid sanitizer? Also, the manufacturer's full details, their company address, their company registration details, all of this should be imprinted on the bottle. We also, on our www.sabs.coza, on our website, we have a list of about 24 reputable manufacturers who have regularly tested with us. We've got their contact details, and consumers can look at those companies and contact them and purchase from them.
Well, thank you very much, and it's good to know that you're getting the false labels off the shelves. Thank you very much. That is Lead Administrator from the South African Bureau of Standards, Jody Scholtz.